Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like our intro was ended a little prematurely, but that's okay because we're all here and we're ready to get things on the road here. So, first order of business, just a reminder that all haters to Twitch, the Rumble channel, the second Rumble channel, is undergoing changes where I'm making some changes to the multi-stream system. I'm adding at least one, maybe two different channels. I'm not sure what's even going to happen to Rumble Channel 2 as we make changes. That channel costs money. It needs to be supported. This whole operation needs to be supported. I continue to try to cut costs, and there is a fee that I have to pay every single month just to maintain that channel. Well, actually, both Rumble channels. There is a fee that we pay, which I'm sure that most of you are not aware of. It's not a free platform when you get to the level that we're at. So there is a cost associated with it. And as a result, I'm not sure if it's even feasible to maintain it because, well, as you know, the majority of people over there hate me. So they're not inclined to donate. That being said, you can go over to Twitch. It's a robust platform, highly sophisticated, far more sophisticated than Rumble. It has great chat features. We're experimenting with that. I'm just trying to see where things kind of end up with all of these channels that we're broadcasting to every night. And Twitch is a very cool platform, as I'm sure those of you who have gone over there have found out. It also runs very smoothly. So every night we connect, it fires every single time. It fires without fail because of the way the stream keys set up. Unlike Rumble, where we sometimes have problems. Sometimes we have broadcasts that don't connect. Now, top news stories of the day. Ghislaine Maxwell audio transcript released by the authorities in the United States, who are making headlines tonight because some people think this is an extension of a cover-up. We're just gonna show you what's going on with that, and the controversy continues to swirl around all of it, all around Donald Trump. Who else? I mean, he's in the news every single day, dominating the headlines, sucking the air out of the entire news ecosystem, and tonight is no different. I think he has his tentacles into just about every news story in one way or another that we will be running here tonight. Ukraine, Russia, new developments there, flip-flopping. I don't know if you call it flip-flopping, but inconsistent rhetoric coming from Donald Trump on that front. Plus, Mark Carney, we went to air earlier today, midday at noon Eastern, when Mark Carney held a news conference to tell the nation that Canada will be dropping its retaliatory tariffs on goods that are Canada-U.S. Mexico trade deal compliant, to match what the United States has decided to do as well. So we'll touch on that tonight as well. I'll show you what happened. I've got reaction from Pierre Poilievre and others on that, including Donald Trump. And you can make your own assessment. As I skim through the social media channels, looking at the reactions from other live streamers, it's extreme on both sides, and I'm not sure if there's any real accuracy in the portrayal of this story out there in media land tonight. I think some of the mainstream media probably striking the right tone, but the the social media world is pretty extreme. Carney destroyed by reporter at news conference on tariff war. I didn't take it that way at all when we were broadcasting live at noon. That is not the way that it went down. You can assess the approach any way you want, but I just don't think it was extreme one way or the other. I think there were some positive things for Canada that came out of today's announcement. We'll dip into it. Also, what else do I have on my list here? Russia, gas lineups, because there are gas shortages being reported, strangely enough, in Russia, an oil-rich nation. And what else do we have for you? Well, those are the main things, except, of course, tonight as well. It's Friday, so that means that it's Maverick Midnight Matinee night, and we have a special flick lined up for you, Invasion, U.S.A., which will follow our regular Maverick News broadcast. So at the tail end of all of this, we'll slide right in to our feature movie, Invasion.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so I also forgot to mention that we will be talking as well about the FBI raid on John Bolton's home. So it's just so obvious. Do I need to say that it's political? Of course it's political. This is the nature of U.S. politics these days. It has been for some time. It seems like the pro-Trump or the Trump administration, the pro-Trumpers, they're kind of giving it right back to the Democrats, aren't they? In the same fashion. Now, or maybe it's all legitimate legal stuff, but we will take a look at that story tonight as well. But let's start with the story that I'm sure is top of mind for most of you. I didn't even have time to put it into the description on our social media channels tonight or in the thumbnail or anything. So it doesn't even get a mention because this is all pretty fresh. And let's go to this report out of NBC tonight. We'll begin right here with this.
There is major breaking news in the Jeffrey Epstein case. The Justice Department has just released transcripts and audio from interviews it conducted with Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. The major headline here, Maxwell told the Deputy Attorney General, quote, "I never witnessed President Trump in any inappropriate setting in any way," end quote. Maxwell also added when asked about the existence of a so-called client list, she said there is no list. She also said she doesn't believe that Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide in prison in 2019. Let's get right to it. NBC News law enforcement and intelligence correspondent Tom Winter is here. So the DOJ, Tom, releasing hundreds of pages of transcripts here. You've been going through it all. What stands out to you so far?
Yeah, and to be clear, we haven't gone through all of it yet, so want to put an asterisk on it. And the reason for that is because just the first day's testimony is 263 pages, wow, and then an additional 60 plus on the second day. There are, according to the the Control F function on my keyboard, over 22 references to President Donald Trump. We also searched, obviously, for former President Bill Clinton. The highlights there, of course, is that she says that she did not see any massages or untoward behavior by either the former president or the current president. There's also a reference to other high-profile figures in business, including Bill Gates. Again, says that she didn't see him getting any massages or any untoward activity there.
Did she see anyone getting anything untoward?
So having gone through it, there are references to massages, references to things that occurred. Her attorney's out with a statement this afternoon saying that, this all points to her innocence, that the Justice Department never considered her a co-conspirator in the Florida case. Of course, I've reviewed that case extensively, and whether or not they actually even got there because the investigation was paused because of long plea negotiations with Epstein is an entirely different matter. So there is a discussion about that. There is a reference, a number of different references to, issues that have been in the news, including this alleged letter that Donald Trump sent to Jeffrey Epstein for his birthday. She says she does not recall that specific letter. She did not see it. And so that I'm paraphrasing from that as far as what she witnessed. I know a lot of people are going to ask about, and you and I have talked about in the lead up to all of this, her ability to tell the truth here. And so part of the agreement, part of the initial discussion of this is that there was an FBI agent in the room. So if I were an FBI agent, I don't need to put you under oath, Vicky. If I was asking you questions about a particular incident, you lied to me, that in and of itself is chargeable. And she's reminded of that in the course of this interview. And then also it could be used against her if, in fact, she is retried on a cross-examination standpoint. It could be used to cross-examine a potential witness. So those are just the two caveats there. But otherwise, she was free to have a discussion and free to talk. The audio has been released as well. We're in the process of downloading that. We'll probably be hearing more from that later in the day. But this is what the Justice Department says comprises the entirety of her day-and-a-half interview with the Deputy Attorney General for the United States, which is extraordinary. I cannot ever recall in my career, I've been doing this a long time, a Deputy Attorney General conducting an interview like this, certainly not one that's the former personal attorney for the President of the United States.
All right, that's a great analysis. I know that you're giving us the Cliff's Notes versions, given that there's so many pages to go through. Smart to use the Control F function, Tom. All right, Tom Winter, thank you so much.
All right, so clip here from Trump, I believe now, responding to
over to the House Oversight Committee today. Are you in support of them releasing all of them?
Keeping it open.
If they wanted to release,
people shouldn't be hurt, but I'm in support of keeping it totally open. I couldn't care less. You got a lot of people that it could be mentioned in those files that don't deserve to be. People, because he knew everybody in Palm Beach. I don't know anything about that, but I have said to Pam and everybody else, give them everything you can give them, because it's a Democrat hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a Democrat hoax. So we had the greatest 6 months, 7 months in the history of the presidency.
Okay. So we'll come back to him in a little bit, because he said a lot of things today in that meeting with the media at the White House. But back to the Maxwell thing. Let's bring up this here now, because we do have some of the recordings. So first of all, Department of Justice releasing the audio recordings and transcripts of the recent prison interview with Ghislaine Maxwell. And here you can see the transcript, and you can see that they are asking about both Trump and Clinton. And you can see that in this transcript, she does indicate that, and did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world? Ghislaine Maxwell, absolutely never, in any context. Todd Blanche, do you know whether masseuses from Mar-a-Lago spa ended up giving private massages to Mr. Epstein? I'm not asking for what you may have read, but from at that time, from your personal knowledge, do you know whether that's true? Maxwell says, I don't know. I don't recall. Is it possible? Yes, but I don't remember. I don't remember that. So I don't recall that. but it's possible. So that is what she is saying, has testified to, or answered questions to. Here's some of the audio, one of the clips released.
I certainly never witnessed the president in any of, I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
So, believe it or not, some people are saying this is just a big cover up. Other people are believing it. This is the problem that we have in our society today. People don't know what to believe. And even when information is released, people still don't believe it because they think that there is still stuff being hidden. And that may well be the case. Is this story going away? Well, it's still front and center tonight. Is this enough to nip this? Well, it's not in the bud now. It's a full-blown floral bouquet of controversy. I don't know. I don't know where this goes now. But it's the talk of the town. It's the talk across the country, and it's certainly what everybody is talking about on social media this evening. But there is other news to cover, and we are going to move on because we just don't know. And that is this story in a nutshell. So let me take a little break. We're going to come back. All kinds of other stuff with Trump, trade, tariffs, Carney, Poilievre, and more on the other side.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
So yesterday, Carney was in a phone call with Donald Trump. The Prime Minister's office in Canada released a statement saying that it was a productive phone call. Then today, Carney met with cabinet members, and he decided to have a news conference. So we jumped on here at noon Eastern to pick up that news conference live. The whole thing we did carry it live from front to back, and we have the highlight here now from it as well. So what has happened as a result of that? Carney has announced that Canada will be dropping all retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods that are compliant with the current Canada-U.S. Mexico trade agreement. This falls into line with what the United States has also decided to do. And so this really is a de-escalation of the tariff war in many respects. Carney also pointing out that among all the countries in the world, he is saying that Canada has the best deal of all countries that have been targeted by Trump's tariffs around the world, even today. And that's largely because we already had the Canada-U.S. Mexico trade deal in place. Now, that deal still needs to be renegotiated next year because that's what Trump wants to do, even though it's the deal that Trump negotiated personally in 2018. He wants a redo on it. And we are seeing big shifts in the trade strategy that the United States is employing. But Carney says that Canada is not elbows down, even though he was asked about that in the news conference today. He says that it's late in the game. Well, I'll let him explain, because what he's really doing here is he's taking this, this whole comparison to the trade talks and a hockey game to a different level, because he anticipated, I'm sure, this question from this global news reporter who is saying, basically, media is going to accuse you of being elbows down when you've been saying you want to be elbows up. And Carney, he did have this sort of, I would say, creative and appropriate comeback, a good political comeback in this news conference. I have to give him that much. And I'll let you guys assess as you listen to this.
Good morning, or good afternoon now, Prime Minister. You've dumped the digital services tax. You haven't responded to additional increases in tariffs from the Americans, and now you're removing counter tariffs here with no changes from the U.S. side in terms of how things are going. Why do you think appeasing Donald Trump in this trade war will work for Canada?
Well, the first thing is we're matching what the United States has done, what the president has done. We have the best deal of any country with the United States right now. 85% of our trade is tariff-free. We are taking this step, which doesn't include the strategic sectors, but matches what they have done. It's in the spirit of CUSMA, our free trade agreement with the U.S. and Mexico, and it gives a good foundation to build on that. That's the first point. The second is that the President and I had a long conversation yesterday, and we see the opportunity to build on where our relationship already is. There's a host of areas for investment in both our economies, a host of areas on the security side that we can build on, and we intend to advance those discussions as rapidly as possible. So the foundation is very strong. The opportunity is great, and we want to focus on those opportunities both. And I want to emphasize this. I know it's a little complex, but there is a review of CUSMA coming, that free trade agreement. It's due to happen in the spring. Preparation should start now. We're starting our preparations. We're updating our preparations. I'm sure the other parties will soon as well. But we're not going to wait. We don't want to wait for that process for those strategic sectors. It goes back to the earlier question about Madame's question about the workers and the businesses in steel and the most affected sectors. We're very focused on those right now, taking a number of measures to support them directly in Canada, including Buy Canada, diversification, other aspects. But of course, part of this is getting to a better balance with the United States, and that's the immediate discussions we're having.
Pretty much every stop during the election, you referenced elbows up and saying that was going to be the strategy you take with the Americans. You also consistently said that Donald Trump was trying to break us so he could own us. Your new argument today is that Canadians should accept basically the best of a bad deal. What's been the change?
Wait. I reject the premise of that question or your characterization of what I'm saying. We have the best deal with the United States right now. Okay, we have the best deal. Look at the numbers. Our tariff is 5.5%. We have 85% of our goods are free trade. It's not what we used to have. Nobody has a deal with the United States that they used to have. Nobody does. They have fundamentally changed. It's their right. We respect it. They have fundamentally changed their trade policy. They have new objectives. And they haven't just talked about those objectives. They put in place tariffs, and they have signed a series of trade deals, including with the European Union, including with others, that have put those into effect. Okay? So we're in a position where we have held out, not signed a deal that we don't agree with or that we don't think is in the best interests of Canadians, but and focused on, and we will remain focused on those strategic sectors to the best interests of Canada first. Of course, America will focus on the best interests of the U.S. But we do so from a position where we're respecting, with this decision, we're respecting our agreement with the United States, and we are matching what they have done. That puts us in a good position for the next phase of these negotiations.
Rachel Haynes, CTV.
Hi, Prime Minister. Rachel Haynes from CTV. I'd like to ask you a little bit more about what you're saying about this matching the U.S. deal or what U.S. has put on Canada. In fact, it's only matching the goods under CUSMA, but in other areas, we're not matching the U.S. at all. They have 50% tariffs on our steel and aluminum products, but we only have 25% tariffs in return. Are you going to raise those tariffs to match that?
We're not raising those today. We've matched the tariffs on autos, similar structure as the U.S. We do have a difference between our tariff on U.S. steel and our tariff on U.S. aluminum. Those are part of the intensive discussions that we're underway right now.
Is that something that you'd look at in the future? And also,
we will look at. I'll give you three questions. I'll give you a short answer to that, which is that we'll look at everything in the future. I mean, we look at our industry both in terms of how we support their retooling, their investment in the industries, liquidity for today, helping their workers, buying Canadian, diversifying markets, but of course trade policy, including with the United States, is part of that. But we're engaged in discussions with the United States about exactly those sectors. And that's what we want to advance to the benefit of our workers and our economy.
And I'll make this extra follow-up very quickly. You're talking about this putting us in a good position in the next phase, presumably the CUSMA negotiations. But as other people have pointed out, we've already folded on the digital services tax. We're taking away these counter tariffs. How is this a position of strength going into those negotiations?
We're in a position. First off, I'm in the negotiations, so I have a sense of how the negotiations are. This puts us, and directly the conversation the President and I had yesterday, is that we'll be following up in short order, he and I, on the progress on our discussions. So the teams are engaged, they're re-engaging on this. This helps accelerate that. Look, but it's a negotiation. But there's no guarantees in these things. But the basis of this is we're matching what the United States has done. Okay, we're matching what the United States has done. We're putting ourselves in a position which is consistent with CUSMA, right? And that both clears away an issue with the U.S. The longer it goes on where we're not matching what the U.S. has done. And the U.S., the carve-out, what they call the USMCA carve-out, but effectively is this free trade for 85%. They just made that official. I mean, 2 weeks ago, they just made that official with the executive order. So we're responding to that. It's obviously, in our judgment, the right thing to do so we can focus in on those strategic sectors exclusively and also be consistent with CUSMA, where there is going to be, CUSMA in a very different trade environment is going to look different. And what we need to do is to make sure we're focusing in areas that where it's the mutual benefits are very clear. So in other words, the arrangements in strategic sectors are mutually reinforcing. They're mutual benefits. So the agreement supports it, but the economics drives it. And that's the way we move forward. Thank you.
So we have time for two more questions. One will be English, one will be French. We'll start with Olivia Stefanovich from CBC.
Do you have any assurances from the Americans that this will kickstart negotiations? Did President Trump specifically say that in his conversation with you?
Yes.
And what do you say to premiers who have called for stronger retaliatory measures against the U.S.?
Yeah, let me say something general, and then I'll be more specific, which is that I want to salute the premiers, and particularly those, some provinces are affected more than others because of the sectoral nature of these tariffs. And I want to salute those premiers for the collaborative way we've been able to work together and the focus on the workers and the businesses themselves. And there's a combination of support for the workers and businesses, such as we provided in the steel sector, liquidity, capital, by Canadian at the federal level, at the provincial level, across, and working in collaboration, for example, in steel with the province of Ontario. In the end, what we all want is to make sure for those strategic sectors that they get fair access to the U.S. market. And what we're doing, again, is matching what the U.S. is doing. That's fair. It's fair to match what they've done. And it puts us in a better position to focus in on exactly those sectors, work for it. So sometimes, you know, to go back to the earlier question, yeah, you drop the gloves in the first period. You know, when you're late in the game, dropping the gloves and taking the extra penalty might not be the best thing to do. And that's the situation we're in now.
And our last question will come from Olivier Boisé from TVA.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Premier.
Okay, so that's French, and we will dip out of that, and we will go over here and get this response from Donald Trump today. To all of that, he says he likes Mark Carney.
A very good call with Prime Minister Carney of Canada yesterday morning.
Yes.
Actually, Canada is taking away some retaliatory tariffs.
He's removing his tariffs, yeah.
Exactly.
He's removing his retaliatory tariffs, which I thought was nice. And we're going to have another call soon. Okay. Yeah, we had a very good call.
You're getting closer towards an agreement on trade?
I like him. You know, look, I'm fighting for the United States. Canada and Mexico have taken a lot of our business over the years, over 25, 30 years. Especially during the Biden years. They took a lot of our business, and it's basically all coming back into the United States now. We're hot as a pistol, and it's coming back in. Because of tariffs and the incentives we give, it's coming back. And it's impossible, I think, for another country to stop it. And we are working on something. We want to be very good to Canada. I like Carney a lot. I think he's a good person. And we had a very good talk yesterday, so I think it'll be good.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, so that rhetoric sounds much more positive than anything I've heard in quite a while. That leaves me feeling a little bit more optimistic. I could sit here and spin this another way to get people excited, maybe even scared, but I don't think that that's appropriate, because I think really that this signals positive forward momentum. And you heard Carney in that one-word answer when he was asked, will this kickstart negotiations by having Canada take this position of removing the retaliatory tariffs? And one word, yes. So it seems like we're back on track. Pierre Poilievre back in the saddle as the leader of the Conservative Party, ready to return to Parliament after winning that by-election, and today holding a news conference to respond to all of this tariff war talk.
That our purpose is to put our country first, to defend our workers and their jobs, to ensure that they continue working and selling our world-renowned steel, aluminum, autos, lumber, and other products to the world. And we know that they have been under attack for a long time now. Our purpose also is to make this country affordable so our young people can buy homes, start families, and our seniors can afford both food and lodging and live out the dignified life that they deserve. We set the priorities for this fall session being to have stronger take-home pay with lower taxes and inflation. We want safer streets by locking up the criminals, secure borders with less immigration, and by ensuring those who do come to our country are not criminals or lawbreakers. And fourth, a sovereign Canada, a country that can stand on its own 2 feet, pay its own bills, and make its own decisions. And that's why, while we'll obviously hold the government to account and oppose liberal policies of high inflation, out-of-control immigration, crime, housing costs, and youth unemployment, we'll also propose positive ideas to lower the cost of living, make paychecks go further, make our streets safe, and secure our country's future. We've even proposed a very detailed bill, this Canadian Sovereignty Act, which would make Canada the fastest place in the world to get a pipe in the ground, to dig mines, harvest lumber, open ports, grow food, do all the things that a nation needs to do to stand on its own 2 feet. My message to Mr. Carney, steal this idea. Come steal it. I welcome you. Plunder it. I'll go into your office with my policy team and we'll hand it all over to you. You can even get the credit. You can draft it up. Let's pass it in September and let's get building. And we also continue to extend our hand to Prime Minister Carney to work together to get a good deal with the Americans. I promised that and I offered that to him multiple times directly. My Shadow Minister of Canada-U.S. Affairs has said the same thing to her counterpart. So far, no response. The Liberals seem to want to play partisan games and score political points rather than working with all parties to get a good deal for Canada. So my message to Mr. Carney, put partisanship aside and work with all parties to get an actual deal with the Americans that stands up for Canada's interest. We have to judge Mr. Carney by his performance, and not by the standards I set, by the ones that he set out for himself. So let's do that today. First, I was happy to hear that he got the President on the phone. I know that Mr. Carney has been trying to do that now for about a month, and today the President accepted his call. And the Prime Minister took the opportunity to make a series of very generous concessions to President Trump. And I was expecting that when the call was reported that we'd find that President Trump had given us something in return, that Mr. Carney, being the negotiator he promised he would be, that he would get something after giving something. But not so. Today we learn that it has been yet another capitulation and climb down by Mark Carney. His elbows have mysteriously gone missing. And this call follows on other concessions. He promised during the campaign he would have dollar-for-dollar retaliation. He pulled that back. He made concessions on the military while getting nothing in return. He pulled back on his digital services tax, a terrible tax, but you'd think he'd get something in return for it. Nothing. And today, he removed even almost all of the tariffs on the United States and got none lifted from Canada. This continues with the weakness that he's shown on the world stage, continuing ahead with a $1 billion loan to the dictatorship in Beijing to build ships for Canada, creating jobs for foreign workers in steel and shipbuilding, while that same regime hits our farmers and fish harvesters with increasingly high and unfair tariffs. Mr. Carney's capitulations would be laughable if they weren't so tragic. They will harm our farmers, our workers, our people. More importantly, from his point of view, they are a broken promise. They are exactly the opposite of what Mr. Carney ran on. His signature promise in the last election was that he was going to put elbows up, negotiate a win, and match American tariffs. Let's go through the list. He has not thrown one elbow since he took office, except at our own workers. He did not meet his promise of a July 21st deal with the Americans. Again, his promise, not mine. He did not, he's backed down while claiming that he would stand up, and he's gotten absolutely nothing in return. In fact, American tariffs are twice as high on Canada today as they were when Prime Minister Carney took office, promising to deploy his negotiating skills to get us a win. He promised he would have elbows up. He promised he could, quote, handle Trump, and that he would, quote, negotiate a win. Those are his promises, and he needs to be judged by his word. And this was not any promise, just any old promise on page 73 of his platform. It was the promise on which he ran his entire election campaign. And now he's abandoning it. So either he admits that he was wrong all along, or that he knowingly spread falsehoods to get elected. He needs to explain which of those two things it is. But it adds to a long list of broken promises. Remember, he was going to build more and at faster speeds than ever before? Well, you know, he's getting breathless media coverage because he's setting up a new office that will one day approve projects that may one day get built. 160 days in, and he's bragging that he's close to setting up a construction office of bureaucrats who don't swing hammers or operate heavy machinery, but sit in front of computer screens in Ottawa department buildings. And not one pipeline has been identified, not one LNG plant, not one nuclear plant, not one hydroelectricity dam, not one major project has been identified, let alone approved in the 160 days since he took office. And all of the anti-resource laws that will make them impossible to complete remain in place. On housing, he said he'd double home building. His housing agency says home building will drop by 13% over the next 2 years. And the housing crisis has tripled in its different directions. Under Trudeau, it was just that they were too expensive for anyone to buy. Now, it's too costly for builders to build, buyers to buy, or sellers to sell. An almost impossible triumvirate of failure in housing hell that only a Liberal Prime Minister could have accomplished. He said he would invest more and spend less. Well, look at the numbers. Spending is up 8% under Mr. Carney, and it looks like the deficit will be twice the one that Trudeau left behind. Though we don't know because Mr. Carney, the genius banker, still hasn't introduced a budget. And then there is the investment side, down $60 billion in what the Financial Times says the single biggest net outflow of investment in any 5-month period. That is Mr. Carney's track record on investment. He is spending more and investing less. Meanwhile, immigration numbers continue to be out of control. Liberals have lost track of 600 non-Canadian criminals who were supposed to have been deported. They're still on our streets. Crime is raging to such a point where people are now demanding the ability to defend themselves in their own homes because they know the law will not defend them. And rightly, Canadians believe that they need to defend themselves if an intruder who's probably out on bail for the 100th time under Liberal laws comes into the house, and frankly, they should have the right to defend themselves and their property against an intruder. But it is sad that we've come to a place where people feel the law will not protect them, and Mr. Carney has sent home Canadian MPs while crime, the cost of living, housing costs, immigration are all up while elbows are down. That said, we're prepared to work with Mr. Carney and with anybody to put our country first, to tackle the cost of living. Our purpose is to unlock Canada's potential, make this a land of opportunity again. And we will prioritize stronger take-home pay, safer streets, secure borders, a self-reliant Canada. And I say to Prime Minister Carney and to all the other party leaders, let's get to work in the fall. Let's tackle these problems for real because our country is worth fighting for and worth working together for. So let's get it done. Thank you.
Mr. Poilievre, would you have removed these retaliatory tariffs on the CUSMA-compliant goods?
My approach would have been to negotiate from a position of strength. I would only have put in countermeasures that were sustainable and legally defensible. And I would have also ensured that by now, 160 days in, we'd have new markets, new projects to get our goods overseas so that we could negotiate a deal. And you asked me whether I would have, my goal would be to have tariffs gone on both sides of the border. I would have gone to the President respectfully and said, you remove your tariffs, we remove ours, let's sign an agreement that restores the great free trading relationship that our two countries had for decades and that worked for both nations. That is what Prime Minister Carney promised during the election, and that's what I would have delivered in his place.
Do you agree with the Prime Minister that despite the tariffs in place, Canada still has the least punitive trade arrangement with the United States of any major economy? And if not, can you think of a country or a bloc that has a better deal right now than Canada?
Well, most countries have a better deal in reality because none of them have the same dependency on the American economy we do. So there's two parts to this. One, any access we have today is the result of Brian Mulroney. Let's be clear. There's not a single tariff-free item that's going to the United States that was not negotiated by Prime Minister Mulroney. I challenge anyone to go back and find an item that goes in tariff-free that was not originally included in FDA or NAFTA under Mulroney. So none of that is due to Mark Carney. I'm sorry, I know he likes to take credit for a lot of things. He can't take credit for what a Prime Minister did in the 1980s and 90s. The second, any small tariff on Canada, any amount, by the United States, has an outsized effect because it represents 20% of our economy is export, more than 20% of our economy is exports to the United States, which means that we are the single most dependent country on the United States, and any tariff at all will have more impact on our country than it does anywhere in the world. We should have tariff-free access to the United States as we had before. And that's what Mr. Carney promised. when he said he would negotiate a win by July 21st. He should have delivered on his promise.
Mr. Poilievre, on steel and aluminum, the federal government has not yet matched the tariff rate on steel and aluminum. The U.S.'s is currently at 50%, while ours is at 25%. Would you like to see them raise that up to 50% and match the U.S.'s rate on steel and aluminum?
Well, my preference would be to see the Americans lower their tariffs so that we can reinstate free trade. But one tariff that I will be cutting for sure, and I will push the Prime Minister to cut for sure, on our steel and aluminum, is the industrial carbon tax. I find it astonishing. Well, I understand Donald Trump's priority is to take Canadian jobs and move them to the United States. He's been very blunt about that. What I don't understand is why Prime Minister Carney would help him do it with an industrial carbon tax on our steel and aluminum products. So our workers are not only hit with Trump tariffs, but with Carney's carbon tax. We need to get rid of the industrial carbon tax, and if Mark Carney will adopt the Canadian Sovereignty Act, then that will include the total elimination of the entire carbon tax, including for steel and aluminum.
Monsieur Poilievre,
Oui.
M. Trump a réagi et il a l'air d'aimer Mark Carney et sa façon de faire. Est-ce que ça,
So Doug Ford also weighed in on this today. As you can see here, he's still taking an aggressive stance. Maybe he's like the bad cop and Carney's trying to be the good cop. Could be part of the strategy, but he says here that Ontario Premier Doug Ford, this is the CTV headline, says he spoke with Prime Minister Mark Carney following an announcement Friday that Canada will ease tariffs on U.S. goods and told him that any agreement with the United States should include support for Canadian industries impacted by tariffs. He says here, I spoke with Prime Minister Carney following his announcement to stress the need for an agreement with the United States that provides relief to our tariff-impacted sectors, including steel, auto, forestry, and copper. Those are the most vulnerable industries right now. Ford wrote in a post on next Friday afternoon, and if the federal government can't achieve that, they need to hit back hard against U.S. tariffs and provide additional supports for the workers and businesses in these sectors. Here's Doug Ford's post on X, as you can see, and he is saying exactly that. I spoke with Prime Minister Carney, and following his announcement to stress the need for an agreement with the United States that provides relief to our tariff-impacted sectors. And the beat goes on as the negotiations continue, or at least they're about to get kick-started. So we are on track for what appears to be some upcoming meetings, and that in itself is a positive thing, I think. But hey, everything could change tomorrow, and we'll show you more of that when we come back on the other side of this.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
So I will get into this thing about things could change tomorrow with Donald Trump, or maybe even within the next hour. But I did want to show you this as well, because this is related directly to the tariffs. And he is saying here in this Truth Social post, I am pleased to announce that we are doing a major tariff investigation on furniture coming into the United States. Within the next 50 days, that investigation will be completed, and furniture coming from other countries into the U.S. will be tariffed at a rate yet to be determined. This will bring the furniture business back to North Carolina, South Carolina, Michigan, and states all across the union. Thank you for your attention to this matter. He always posts that. I find that an interesting post, because the furniture industry has largely moved to places like China. And that's the case in Canada as well. Not too many companies manufacturing furniture in Canada or the U.S. these days. And of course, if you go to the furniture stores, so much of it is just basically particle board, and it's all super, super cheap. You know, there's some high quality stuff out there, but it's difficult to buy really, truly high quality furniture made of like solid wood, the way that it used to be back in the day. I take particular interest in it because I recently picked up some work with a company that is in the business of developing products and product ideas, and they're working on a piece of furniture as an innovative idea. So I just took note of that today, and it made me think of what's going on in the Canadian furniture industry. Not much going on here. Most of that business left Canada and the U.S. decades ago. In fact, the television station where I first went to work after getting out of journalism school, graduating, and university, studying economics, was CKCO out of Kitchener. And that company that station was originally owned by Electra Home, which was owned by a furniture company initially. And they were in the business of making cabinets, and the furniture company then made cabinets for those big console television sets. That's how far back, I go. And it just it gave me a little taste of what the furniture industry used to be like. But even back in those days, the furniture industry was on the way out in Canada. So this attempt by Trump to bring furniture manufacturing back to the United States, it's a bold move, and we'll see how it goes. We will see, because the tide has left. It's been out for a long time. Maybe the tariffs will bring the tide back in. I'm just not sure. But with that social media post, there was also this one that I took note of last night. And the reason I took note of it was because there were reports out there, not widely reported, but there were reports that Trump was basically giving the green light to Ukraine to go on the offensive and possibly even strike targets inside Russia. It's all related to this Truth Social post, which really caught me by surprise. And I think some others as well. But some people picked up and ran with this. I'm trying to make sense of why this is something that he put out there. He says, it is very hard, if not impossible, to win a war without attacking an invader's country. It's like a great team in sports that has a fantastic defense, but is not allowed to play offense. There is no chance of winning. It is like that with Ukraine and Russia. Crooked and grossly incompetent Joe Biden would not let Ukraine fight back, only defend, all in caps. How did that work out? Regardless, this is a war that would never have happened if I were president. Zero chance. Interesting times ahead. President DJT. Interesting times ahead. So that's what it sounds like. It sounds like he is shifting into a more aggressive stance on the Russia-Ukraine war from that post. And I did even hear some online influencers who, comment extensively on the war, saying that this was basically him giving the green light to Ukraine to go on the offensive and start attacking targets inside inside Russia, rather, not the United States. So here he is again. I think this is the clip that I need from Trump right now. Again, back to the White House, where he's asked about the current situation with peace talks, peace negotiations, which seem to be running right off the rails because the Russians don't seem to have any interest in meeting with Zelensky in a trilateral negotiation or meeting at all. It's they've pretty much put the brakes on that at this point. So everything that happened in Alaska, where Trump kind of came out looking, I think, kind of weak, and everything that happened at the White House when all the European leaders came to meet with Trump along with Zelensky, basically showing Trump that Zelensky has their support, and they're also signaling that they have very serious concerns about Trump's approach to NATO. I think that's really what the message was, as they all sat in front of Trump's desk together and around that table to talk about, security guarantees, where the United States under Trump is saying said again, the United States will not put boots on the ground, but they will sell weapons to Europe so that they can give them to Ukraine. But he's also applying a 10% markup, which some people are finding rather distasteful, profiting from the war. But then this post on Truth Social, and then this in the White House today.
Mr. President, Ukraine and Russia said in 2 weeks you'll know whether you go.
Yeah, I think I'll know. I think I'll know the attitude of Russia and, frankly, of Ukraine. It takes two.
What are the 2 ways you can go at the end of 2 weeks then?
Well, then I'm going to make a decision as to what we do. And it's going to be a very important decision. And that's whether or not it's massive sanctions or massive tariffs or both. Or do we do nothing and say it's your fight? Look, I would have never been in this war if I were president. You wouldn't have had this war. It was never going to happen. This was caused by stupid people that fought. And people say, well, how do we know? Because for 4 years, it was never even a subject. And Vladimir knew, and you see his picture right here. It was nice that he sent, but Vladimir knew very strongly we wouldn't have stood for him. It wouldn't have happened. 100% wouldn't have happened, but it did happen. And now they're losing from 5 to 7 young kids. Think of it, you're a parent and your son is leaving. He's Russian or he's Ukrainian. And he's leaving and they're waving goodbye. Nice, beautiful kid. Nice crew cut, all set. He wants to be a soldier. And he goes there the first week, he has his head blown off. And he's no different than you people, me. And it doesn't matter where. I mean, I solved a problem in the Congo that was vicious. Rwanda and the Congo, the Republic of the Congo. And they were fighting for 31 years, and it was machetes. People were getting their heads chopped off. That was going on for 31 years. I got it solved. You saw it. They came to the White House, and we signed an agreement. It was amazing. People can't believe we got it done. I love to stop killing. I really do. People thought it would be just the opposite. Hillary Clinton said, oh, he'll get us into a war. No, I'm getting everybody else out of wars.
Are you saying there's a real possibility then that you do nothing if Putin doesn't come to the table for a ceasefire?
I'll see whose fault it is. If there are reasons why, I'll understand that. I know exactly what I'm doing. We're going to see whether or not they have a meeting. That'll be interesting to see. And if they don't, why didn't they have a meeting? Because I told them to have a meeting. But I'll know in 2 weeks what I'm going to do. I have pretty good ideas.
Your Justice Department is also sending some of the Epstein files over.
Okay, so we already heard that clip. So he'll know in 2 weeks. Again, and yeah, what this is back to the rhetoric that we were hearing before. It doesn't really match what he posted yesterday, later in the night, And there might be some coding even in some of that. So maybe we'll dig into that more in the days ahead. I'm just not exactly sure what to make of all this flipping and flopping. And then one of our callers last night, Lori, who obviously not a big Trump fan, and I would say probably more on the left side of the political spectrum, asking me, why have you changed your opinion on Trump? I saw everything clearly a long time ago. Well, I think people are entitled to change a little bit on their position on Trump because, as you're seeing right here, he's very unpredictable. And what is going on right now with Trump, very, very different. Trump 2.0 compared to the first Trump administration for a whole variety of reasons, not the least of which is that he now has a much firmer control over every aspect of government that has allowed him to fight back against what he would characterize as the deep state. And we saw that in full blown action today when the FBI raided the home of John Bolton. We'll dig into that when we come back after this.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so before we get into the John Bolton stuff, I did want to just a little sidebar to the whole Russia-Ukraine war, where Russian media reporting long lineups at gas stations in some parts of the country because of gasoline shortages. And here is video evidence of that. So we're told, anyway. That is traffic jam and maybe even an accident. And as you can see, here's another report. As you just do the social media scroll, this is what's being reported. Anyway, let me bring this up. So we're being told this is a lineup going into a gas station.
Короче, на Альянсе вот такая обстановка. Чуть-чуть скоро до грина не будет хватать. А вот он, грин уже.
Scroll down a little more, see if we see anything else here. So Russia and Russia-occupied Ukrainian territories experienced significant gas shortage after drone strikes on oil refineries. The most acute shortage is currently in the occupied Zabaykalsky Krai. I can't pronounce that. I do apologize. Russians are forced to stand in huge lines for gas, and in some places it can only be bought using coupons. And you can see here, that's an old clip. This is old. This is, again, being reported as queues, lineups going into gas station there on the side of the highway, as you can see. So people lined up, and that is at a gas station for sure. So it seems like there might be some validity to these reports of gas lineups. Here's video footage of drone strikes from Ukraine on Russian targets at oil refineries. And we know Ukraine has been targeting oil refineries specifically for months now and really stepped that up. Now, did Donald Trump's post on Truth Social yesterday and overnight contribute to any of this, or will it contribute to more aggressive posture from Ukraine moving forward? Didn't sound like it in the White House today. Again, just flip-flopping on tone. So very hard to read, but that was the I think that was the most aggressive post that I've seen from Trump so far, because even a week ago or so, he was asked specifically, should Ukraine strike targets inside Russia? And he said, no, they shouldn't do that. And that's opposite of what he just obviously posted on Truth Social. Hard to know what the heck is going on with Donald Trump and all of that regard. Now, on to the Bolton story. John Bolton. I woke up this morning a little bit later than John Bolton did, but I was greeted by a news story. He was greeted I was greeted by a news story about him being greeted by a knock at the door from the FBI. Why? Because the FBI went there looking for classified documents. And this was the scene. They blocked off the street leading up to his home and took a pretty aggressive stance with him, too.
Not realize this, but there was a probe going on when President Trump was in office last time, because John Bolton wrote a book, and he violated his NDA, the president said, in doing it, and he felt as though there were classified information in that book. The probe dropped when Joe Biden became president. So is this picking up where that left off, David?
It's possible. I don't know with 100% certainty, but it is notable, guys, that John Bolton, Ambassador Bolton's security clearances were stripped earlier this year by President Trump. Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, took that security clearance away. They had concerns. The administration had concerns about Ambassador Bolton still being able to access some of these documents and have some of those security clearances. It's also notable that John Bolton had a security detail as well. Because of the threats from Iran on his life. That security detail, that government federal paid security detail, was also taken away by President Trump. So Bolton was to have to get some private security. So we're looking outside this home right now in Bethesda, Maryland. We're told that Ambassador Bolton's being cooperative. He's not under arrest, not in custody at this point. But still notable, 7 o'clock on a Friday morning, that the FBI all of a sudden is knocking on the door of John Bolton's home. And I also will say it's important that, this is not just the FBI able to do this. A judge has to sign off on this. There are other layers involved here. It's not just the FBI says, let's go to John Bolton's house tomorrow morning and see if he has any classified documents. There are certainly more procedures in there. A judge and others would have had to sign off on this, as well as people at the Justice Department, presumably Attorney General Pam Bondi. No comment right now, though, from the Justice Department. No comment from the FBI as well.
So this started.
Okay, so that's one take on it on Fox News. This is Dinesh D'Souza weighing in on the Bolton investigation. Of course, D'Souza very much on the conservative side.
Any given moment. But I don't think he cared about the classification system. I don't think he appreciated.
He's just commenting here. He's reposting what D'Souza reposted on his X account, is that he's just pointing out that Bolton was very much in favor of the raid on Mar-a-Lago when the FBI went there to recover what they said were classified documents that were inappropriately stored.
Any given moment. But I don't think he cared about the classification system. I don't think he appreciated the sensitivity of this information, and he didn't appreciate the sensitivity of how it was often acquired, the so-called sources and methods. So this had been briefed to him before I arrived. It was repeated frequently. I think it simply had no impact on him whatever.
There's a couple of different ways that people think about this, and people who are not friendly to the president who think about what's happened here. And one of them is, Donald Trump, master thief, criminal, running some kind of elaborate conspiracy to bring things out of the White House and keep them secret for potentially for political or financial gain. There are other people who his attitude is Trump is chaotic. He's careless. He's not that smart. He took these things almost by mistake, and now he's basically stamping his feet and saying they're mine. I don't want to give them up. Give me a sense of where you think the truth lies with respect to Trump's intelligence, carelessness, and the degree to which he might have brought motive to bear on taking these documents out of the White House and keeping them for this long at Mar-a-Lago.
Well, it's very hard to speculate on motive other than that he liked cool things. He saw things so he wanted to take them, and he was pretty much able to take them, and not just on classified information matters, on all kinds of things that crossed his desk. Some days he liked to eat a lot of French fries. Some days he took classified documents. He wanted them. Why did he want them? Because he could get them.
Right. And
so, you know what they say, what goes around comes around. Bolton, originally a key advisor to Trump in the Trump 1.0 administration, but Trump said that Bolton wanted to bomb everybody. He was a hawk. And so as he advised him on foreign affairs issues, Trump said that Bolton was too much of a hawk, that he wanted to bomb everybody. Since leaving the Trump administration, Bolton became a fierce critic of Donald Trump and makes regular appearances on various media outlets, not only in the United States, but even internationally, criticizing Trump. Now it looks like he's absolutely in the crosshairs of the president. And this is American-style politics 2025. And if you go and over to Twitter, X, just scroll down, you'll see the polarization on full display as people repost all these images of the documents that Trump, the classified documents that Trump had at Mar-a-Lago, not securely stored at all. In some cases, in I guess a washroom, in what appears to be some sort of a theater area or something, and in closets. So quite the mustache. Whereas my father would say, cookie duster. Oh my. Sometimes I just watch this stuff and I just think this is just political theater. It really is entertainment as much as anything else. I think sometimes this stuff is all just staged just to keep us all engaged and entertained. But a lot of time and money is spent on it, and a lot of time in court. And yet, isn't it interesting how they go through all this drama, the investigations, in some cases arrests, the court cases, and how often do any of these people actually end up in prison? Makes you wonder if any of these investigations are genuine at all. On the other side of the political spectrum, we're seeing a lot of rhetoric about, this is a violation of the rule of law. This is, a violation of Bolton's rights. This is just, it's corrupt. These are the exact same arguments that were made when everything was the other way around, when Biden was in power and they were coming after Trump and people around him. For instance, Roger Stone or Peter Navarro. These guys actually went to jail, or even Dan Bongino, targeted at some point. So, but as some of these people went to jail, I just have to wonder how much of it is actually real. I guess it's pretty real if you had to end up in jail. But here we go. If it isn't performative, then the United States has turned into a banana republic.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I also wanted to touch on this because we're talking about the economy, and tariffs, inflation, housing shortage, immigration. Today, what's the title here? It's the Federal Artificial Intelligence Minister and Minister responsible for the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario. That's a mouthful. Evan Solomon, former journalist, now politician in Southern Ontario, I believe in Windsor, announcing a $12 million investment from the federal government toward a housing innovation initiative. Let's pick this up. And this is important stuff because this all ties into the federal government's plan, I think, to try to alleviate the housing shortage, or the housing crunch at least, and rising prices for housing. Although in some markets, strangely, as we have concerns about this, we're seeing prices begin to come down. Not so much because of supply and demand dynamics, but because of other economic factors. But here's Evan Solomon just talking a little bit about this housing innovation venture.
Bill said he wanted to introduce Nancy Gardner, President of FedDev Southern Ontario, and Linda Cousineau, our Vice President of Business Innovation and Community Development for FedDev. Just so you know, these people are remarkable. I don't know if you've met them. Their teams meet with business leaders and innovators every single day, and they deliver information to government to make investments, and you'll see the fruits of that today. I want to thank them. Their ongoing work is absolutely spectacular. I'm up here taking credit for a lot of their work. They work hard every day, and I spent 10 years running a small business. I know how hard it is, and getting an ally like the Federal Development Southern Ontario team, Nancy and Linda's team, incredible work, so thank you to them. It's been fantastic. Okay, as Bill said, my title is long, the Minister of AI, Digital Innovation and FedDev, but we're here because Windsor, Essex, this whole region is really an example of where these things come together. Real economic power, real economic development, real digital innovation, a real entrepreneurial energy. The Prime Minister just spoke, and we'll talk about that. Families are feeling it here more than anywhere. And we should not sugarcoat it. It's hard. And the only way we're going to get through this is to rely on ourselves and build new trade routes and make sure that our companies have the opportunities to create such incredible products that the world needs them, wherever they are. And that's what's happening. We understand housing is an issue. We are launching our Build Canada Homes Initiative, a $25 billion initiative. Federal government has not been in the home business since the Second World War. But the federal government is only as good as the innovators. And that is why the innovations today, trying to deal with rising housing prices, limited supply, have created pressure, but we can alleviate that pressure to build smarter, faster, more sustainable homes. It's never been more urgent. That's what Minister Robertson talks about, the Prime Minister, myself, all of us, and that's what we're going to see today. We're seeing our Canadian innovators and our builders and our scientists and our universities step up, roll up their sleeves, and making sure that being a visionary also means becoming a successful business and commercializing. Because the goal for all of us is to make housing more accessible and more affordable. And that requires creativity and resilience, and this is why we're here today with bold ideas at this university and across the region that are meeting the moment and laying the foundation to build. When we call Canada strong, it's got to be tested on walls like this for a future where every Canadian can call home. So these are investments. Some of these are repayable investments, contributions that will be repaid, which is an incredible investment for Canadians to make in other Canadians, and in our organizations and our manufacturers to change the way we build our homes, to strengthen our supply chains, and to power our economy. So here's what we're going to announce today. I am honored and more than pleased to announce these partnerships and investments of nearly $12 million from the Government of Canada funding to support housing innovation right here in Southern Ontario in this region. This is the leadership. A number of these projects have been funded through the Regional Home Building Innovation Initiative, the RHII, and I'm practicing acronyms because that's what apparently a politician has to do, but was developed to help address the way we build homes. So we're helping 6 businesses today and organizations as they advance their innovative housing solutions, and we're boosting manufacturing efficiency with the home building sector. So I want to name them, and if you want to put up your hand if you're here so people can see you, that'd be great. Obviously, we're here at this incredible facility at the University of Windsor, so first we'll give them a hand because I think they deserve it. Incredible work.
Oh, I have no audio. My apologies. Thank you for alerting me to my muted microphone. I'm back. So I wanted to cut to the chase there because Evan Solomon was just really long-winded. Basically, I showed you the news release just to cut to the chase to tell you that the $12 million is basically being spent on investments into 6 Southern Ontario construction firms to help them upgrade equipment. It's also being invested in new technology to build a special kind of wall, which was behind Solomon there. That's being done by a company called BK Cornerstone. And also there's money going to the University of Windsor for the development and furtherance of 3D print building technology. So 3D printing for buildings and for construction purposes. And that will help the university develop that technology, showcase it, and bring it forward to the public in a way that maybe we'll see more incorporation of that into actual construction processes moving forward into the future. So that's what the $12 million is all about. And he was kind of beating around the bush. So I kind of dipped out of the news conference because I just wanted to get to the movie, which is what's coming up next, right after this conclusion to the Maverick News portion of this program. But don't go away, because we have coming up on the other side, Invasion U.S.A. That's our movie for tonight, our Maverick Midnight Matinee Watch Party feature presentation. So if you want to watch that, you can't do it on YouTube because we have to jump off YouTube. They don't like it when we run these movies over there. But on all the other platforms, including Twitch, you can stick around and watch Invasion USA tonight here on the Maverick News channel. So with that being said, I will wrap up this news portion of the program, and we'll come back on the other side with Maverick Midnight Matinee. So let me run a musical interlude, and I'll be right back.
Y'all better stand back. He's laced up his boots, cracked open a cold one, and somebody's about to get C-A-K. Well, he rolls into town on a Harley so loud, with a stars and stripes cape and a jaw like a plow. Don't need no laser beams, no high-tech tricks. He just winds up that boot and lets it fly real quick. He kicks ass to the left, kicks ass to the right. Captain Ass Kicker's looking for a fight. From sundown to sunrise, he'll brawl and bite, 'cause Captain Ass Kicker is alright. He's the outlaw hero of this one-horse town, putting punks in their place, laying bad guys down. Ain't no Cape Crusader wearing tights and blush, just a trucker hat and a boot full of hush. He kicks ass in the morning, kicks ass at night. C-A-K, don't care if you're wrong or right. You run your mouth, he's quick to ignite. Yeah, Captain Ass Kicker is dead right. He don't fly, he don't swing from no thread. He'll just kick your ego straight out of your head. Justice don't come with a judge and a gavel. It comes with a boot and a trail of gravel. He's banned from 6 states and a Waffle House, but the people still cheer when he clears the louts. He don't play nice, don't read no script. He just cocked his foot. Oh, they're at rip. He kicks ass in the East, kicks ass in the West. CAK don't sleep, he don't need rest. If there's trouble brewing, he's your invite. Captain Ass Kicker is bringing the fight. So when the night gets rough and the law's too slow, you better call on the man with a steel-toed glow. Captain Ass Kicker, kicking ass since the day he learned to war.
Okay, that's Captain, well, CAC. That's CAC, Captain Ass Kicker. Okay, it's time for Maverick Midnight Matinee. So let's cut to the chase there. Tonight's feature presentation is Invasion U.S.A. Ooh. Now, that being said, just a reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, this broadcast is about to end. And if you want to watch the movie with us, you can zip on over to Rumble, one of our other platforms, to catch the flick and participate in the chat as part of the Maverick Midnight Matinee watch party. Here we go.